In this video, I'm going to explain about how to design a simple login form using HTML tags and also how to validate a simple login page using JavaScript language. So first open any suitable editor as per your preference. So I'm using here Edit Plus software to design my web page. I choose an HTML page. So default code, some few lines of code is generated default. Whatever the code you require, just you keep it. Generally we need to keep HTML tags, we need to keep header tags, we need to keep body tags and also title tags. Generally this is the structure of any HTML page: HTML tag, header tag, title tag, body tag. So title is a login page, so I am giving here it as a login page. First, before validating a login page, first I will design the login form. How do we design a login form? I will show you. It is actually a form. There is a tag called form tag. So I will open the form tag and I also close the form tag. In between open form and closing form tag, I need to keep some lines of code that is related to design part. So what I need a login field. So user ID and right side a text box, and password field, password label, and right side a password field. And below that I provided login button and reset button. That means I need two labels, one text field, one password field, and two buttons. So total 6 components I need, and all these 6 components are arranged in 3 rows and 2 columns. So how can I arrange them in 3 rows and 2 columns? With the help of table tag I can do it. I will show you how I am going to do. So first open the table tag and set some border value, and also display the table in the center of the screen. So use by setting the ln is equals to center, and apply some background color for the table, and maintain some spacing between the cells using cell spacing attribute. And also maintain space between the cell and its contents. Now, in my first row, my first table data element is a label that is called user ID. User ID. That is the first table data element. In my first row, my next table data element is text box. How can we generate a text box in HTML? There is a tag called input tag. There is an attribute called type. If we set type is equals to text, then it generates a text box, and we need to give some name for this. In future we are going to access the contents of this text field by using this name. So that is the reason I pass an attribute called name attribute. So second data element. By this I am closing the first row. So first row is holding two data elements. One is a label, the other one is a text box. Now begin the next row. In second row, the first data element is label that is called password, and second table data element is password field. How can we generate password field in HTML? Using the same tag again, input, but this time we will set the value for the type attribute as password. Name is equals to assign some meaningful name. In future we are going to read the values that are entered in these fields. So second data element is also over. Now we are closing this row. Now in the third row, the first table data element is button. Which button? Login button. So how can we generate a button in HTML? Using the same tag input by setting the value for the type attribute as button. And we need to display some label on the button that we can assign with the help of value attribute that I am giving here it as login button. This is also over, and closing the first table data element. In the same row I am keeping one more button that is called reset button. So for reset button we need to set the type is equals to reset. value is equals to, we can give it like clear or any name, we can give it clear or reset, any name as per our preference, we can give this name. Now all rows I created. At last I need to close the table row and I need to close the table tag. And after that I already closed the form tag, body tag is closing, and HTML I closed. So this is a simple design page of a login form. So user ID field, right side text box. So immediately we close that row. We begin one more row, password field and password text field. Next one is but login button and clear button. So we are created how many rows? Row 1, row 2, row 3. How many columns? First column, second column. I will save this web page with the name login validate.html. So how do we run this program? So open the respective drive and go to the directory, and here login form, our page name is login form. So alphabetical order the pages are arranged. You can look into the login form as login validate page is there. You can just double click on this, then you are able to see the design portion of the web page. I will increase the size also, just you can see. This is the actual design page. So how I design this page? If you see here, the table is displayed in the center of the web page, and the color applied for the table is pink color. And how many rows? The total 6 elements are there. 2 labels. This is a label, and this is a label, and this is a input text box. This is a input password box or password field, and this is a button, and this is another button. So if you see, it looks like a matrix of 3 rows and 2 columns. It looks like a table. The table is having 3 rows. So as while designing, I imagine this page. My first row should contain the label 1 and its corresponding text box. My second row should contain the password label and its corresponding password field. My third row contains the login button as well as the clear button. So based on that, I designed this web page. But if I click on something, nothing will happen here. See, if I click on login, I enter something here. If I enter something here, but nothing is happened. But when I click on clear, it is happened. But that's okay. But that is inbuilt property that is comes along with the reset button. But when I click on login button, nothing will happen because I did not write any code. What will happen when the user clicks on the login button? So whatever the actions that are generated in this page, our web page is not able to receive those events, and it doesn't know what should do if this will happen. Then we need to include the script code, because script code role is coming here when we want to deal with event handling kind of mechanisms. If something will generate, we need to do something. So I will open the code. I hope this design page is very clear. I created a table with some properties. I set some border value, align, background color, cell spacing, cell padding. After that, I begin the first row. I kept 2 data elements. One is user ID label, another one is text box. I closed that row. I begin one more row. I kept password box, label, and password box. And after close that row and begin the third row. Third row, I keep 2 buttons. One button with the label login, another button with the label clear. So value is the attribute that is used to assign labels on the buttons. If we assign some labels on the button, then the user came to know that the purpose of this button is to clear the contents. The purpose of this button is to log in. Like that, they came to know that the purpose of the button is based on the label that is displayed on the button. Now I want to provide a script code. So generally script code we need to write inside the header tags. So script, there is an attribute called type. So type attribute is accepting 2 arguments, 2 values, either text or JavaScript. So here this statement is conveying to the browser this user is used script JavaScript code to design their web pages. So that is the meaning of this script type is equals to text slash JavaScript. According to JavaScript syntax rules, this script code is going to be evaluated by the browser. And close the script. Now, in between open script code and close the script code, we need to write down the code that is required to whenever the user clicks on the login button, something will happen. So what is that we need to do? We need to read the value that is entered in the user ID field and also value that is entered in the password field. We need to compare the user ID with some value, password with some value. If both are matched, then we display a confirmation message, login successful. Otherwise, we will display a message like login failed. That is my goal. Now, how can I do it? I define a function in JavaScript with the help of function keyword. In JavaScript, functions are defined with the help of a function keyword. So first, validate is my function name. No arguments are expected. Now I want to read the values that are entered in the both text field as well as the password field. Actually, here I did not assign any name for my form, but here there is a requirement to assign some name for my form. That is, I has passed an attribute that is called name. I assigned with some value that is called f1. Now there is an object called document. So document dot form name dot field name. What is the field name? User ID field name u dot value. So user is equals to document dot form name dot u dot value and password. So password I give just I entered a short name. So I need to capture the value that is entered in the password field. How can I capture it? With the help of document object dot form name dot field name. Field name is p. So I hope you remember what is the u and p are represented. At the time of designing, I clearly explained that the purpose of the name attribute is in future we are going to track the values that are entered in these fields. If I want to read the value that is entered in this text field, I can access that content with the help of this name. If I want to capture the value that is entered in the password field, that can be I can capture with the help of name. So I assigned u and p. U means user ID, p means password. For the readability purpose, I assign u and I assign p. That is the reason I am using the same names. Document is a built-in object. Form name is f1. Which field I want to read? User ID field. So that value is captured, that is stored in this variable user. And the next one is password field value is captured, that is assigned to some variable. Now my next job is I need to compare. I need to compare user is equals to, okay, user is equals to, so for example, ABCD and password is equals to suppose 4321 something. If user ID is equals to with this value, logical AND operation, and password is also equals to this value, then what should we do? We should display a confirmation message to the user with the help of alert box. I am generating an alert box, login success. Next, if it is not happened, then if both the values are not matched, then the else block will be executed with the following message, login failed. At last, we need to close the function. Initially, I begin this function. I need to close this function. What this function is contain, what this function holds? This function try to read the values that are entered in the first text field. After reading that value, that is held in a variable called user. So we need to declare a variable with the name var keyword, with the keyword var. So var password. Now, after holding the values, we are comparing whether the user is entered this user ID and password is with this name. Then we are displaying a confirmation message to the user, login success, otherwise login failed. But who can call this function? When we need to call this function, whenever the user clicks on the login button, then only we need to invoke this function called validate. So how can we convey that message? So actually we have an attribute called onClick. OnClick, here we need to give the name of the function that is defined inside the script tag. Validate. The name of the function is validate. So whenever the user clicks on this login button, then immediately it will access this function which is defined inside the script tags. Inside the script tag, then this function will be invoked and the respective actions will be generated, and it will compare both the input values. If it is properly matched, if the provided valid credentials are valid, then it will display login success, otherwise it will display login failed. So we already saved this application. Previously only I designed the login page, but I did not include the script code. But now I implemented the script code, and I also invoked when should this function will call whenever the user clicks on the login button. How can I represent that one? With the help of onClick attribute. Now open the code, refresh the page. So according to our requirement, the user ID is ABCD and password is 4321. 4321. See what is displayed? Login success. So I given valid credentials. That is the reason I got this screen valid. Okay, login success. Now if I entered, I again refresh the button. If I entered some invalid entries in both the fields, you can see I entered some invalid values. Then I got a message called login fail. I got a message called login fail. In this way, we can validate a simple login page using JavaScript code. So what we learned in this video, how to design a simple login page, and how do we handle the events if buttons clicking is called an event. Clicking a button is an event. That is called some event is generated, your web page should respond to that event. So how this web page came to know that the user clicked login button or the user clicked reset button? Because for each button we assign some function here. If you see the web page, there is no labeling is assigned for this table tag. So I want to assign, for that I can do it with the help of caption tag. There is a tag called caption. Using header tag h1 with ln is equals to center, I will display a common heading for this one, login form, and closing the h1 tag and closing the caption tag. Now once I refresh the page, I am able to get this. Previously this login form heading was not there. So how I obtained this one? With the help of caption tag. With the help of caption tag. By default that caption tag is displayed in black color, but if I want to get it, if I want to maintain some uniformity, I want to assign the color name as pink only, so I can do it with the help of style attribute. See this one. Or if you want to assign some other different color also, it's not a problem. So first blue color, if I want to, I'm interested to display the table heading with blue color, then like this. So in this way we can design a web page using plain HTML code, and we can also include action parts. So what is the use of including script parts? To make our web page more responsive, to make our web page more dynamic.